We're driving to McDonald's to get coffee because it's really early in the morning.
It's almost 11.
What are you gonna get, a McDouble?
Perhaps.
Just do it. That's what I'm gonna do. And then we're gonna get on the freeway and we're gonna drive 6 hours to San Jose to see a musical.
It's dedication.
It's the normal thing kids our age do with their weekends. Thank you for joining us on our trip.
I say, hey, hey, she's a goddess. I've been waiting for someone like you.
We're back. We're currently driving, as you can see. We're on the 5 North from Los Angeles. We are about 300 miles away from San Francisco,
Yay.
which is our destination of choice today. We'll get into that later.
We have 4 shows to catch you up on that we have seen. We have 2 more from Broadway that we're gonna do a little bit later, but right now we're gonna do 2 from LA that we saw. So first we have God of Carnage that was at the Amundsen Theater in April 2011.
Okay.
Shit, okay. April 2011. So we saw this with the original Broadway cast in it. It was like a special thing.
The Tony-winning cast.
Tony-winning cast.
I have to say it was probably one of it's up there with like my favorite theatrical experiences, which I feel like my list gets longer and longer, but it's up there with the Deaf West production of Pippin, which I've mentioned before was my favorite theater experience. It was just a spectacular show. I went in not knowing anything about it other than there was only 4 cast members, and it was the Tony-winning play, and I loved it. I don't have any complaints. We were just completely blown away.
We were.
It was like Lord of the Flies adult style.
It was.
No, I just thought it was beautifully put together. It was hilarious and serious and moving, and it's everything that you want in a play. Perfect A+ job.
Beautiful.
But now, I see a brand new you.
The next show we saw in LA, we saw The Pantages, and that was on a little bit more happier note. We saw Shrek the Musical.
Now, I told my friends that we had to go see Shrek because I saw Shrek on Broadway twice, and I saw it closing night with my girlfriend, and it was one of the like most moving experiences, and people were like standing up in the audience and waving their freak flags, and I loved the show. It's one of my favorite shows. And on a serious note, I think Shrek the Musical is one of the best metaphors for like the queer and gay movement and the civil rights equality movements that are going on right now. I don't think you can have a better metaphor on Broadway than that show. I mean, I love it. I'll let you talk about it because I'm just a huge Shrek fan and it can do no wrong, so I'll let Adriana give her opinion.
I went and saw this with my family, actually, and my father is a very reserved man, and he doesn't really like ever show emotions like super, like he's never super happy unless he's talking about like rock climbing, and he's never like super mad unless he's talking about like rock climbing. So I asked him after the show, I was like Bobby, like how did you like this? And he looks at me with like serious face and he goes, it was very good. It was very good. So that's how you know. That's how you know when your dad says it's a good show. It was just really cute. I talked to Bailey and we were talking about the differences from Broadway to now because they did have to make some stage differences and set differences, and they had to make different preludes and stuff like that to go with the stage and the tour, you know. It was a little bit different, but she did say that there were some better changes, like the
major. There's no more Donkey Pot Pie, so they took that out, which was the one bad song in the show. And the dragon is no longer just a head. The dragon is a full, like, puppet, like, worked by puppeteers, very similar to, like, the puppets in Warhorse. This full, stunning puppet, and had so much facial expression. And when the dragon sang, like, you actually fell in love with her as a character, which is important because Donkey, you know, falls in love with Dragon at the end of the show. And at first you couldn't see that in the Broadway one because she was literally, her head was like half of the stage in size. And this one, she was like a lovable character, and it was awesome. Did it live up to the expectations that I set for it?
I think it did. I mean, it's not one of those shows that you have to take so serious. Sometimes you have to go into a show and enjoy it and, you know, take it in for what it is.
Theater is meant to be entertainment first and foremost. You know, theater is meant to entertain people. A lot of theater has messages. A lot of theater is performed for a purpose. But I think, you know, bottom line is that theater is meant to be fun. And I think anybody that's been in a play or a musical, like at school or in community theater, or whether it's a real job or whatever, you know you have a blast and that cast becomes your family. And I think that's something that Shrek really portrays, is you can tell they're having fun, and you in the audience consequently have fun too.
Exactly.
So, A+.
Yes.
Everything's an A+. Here, hang on. Something I got to see in LA this year that Adriana didn't get to come with me to see was a musical version of H.P. Lovecraft's The Reanimator. And it's a really, really kind of bad movie, if anybody's ever seen it. It's a book. It's kind of like a horror, gore movie, but it's kind of like horrible and cheesy. We went and saw a musical version of it, and it was a really, really amazing experience. We sat in like the second to front row, and we got covered in so much fake blood and like squishy brain matter. It was awesome. You know, so serious enough to enjoy the show, but they understood the show was absurd, and so we had fun with that too. There was literally one song where Dr. West has like intestines wrapped around him, and there's like a hose going through squirting fake blood, and he's like dousing the audience with the hose. I thought it was a really, really fun experience, and one of the things that was kind of interesting for us to see is that when we were there, it was a very small theater, and it was in the middle of nowhere. You wouldn't even know it was a theater from the outside. But there were probably about 15, 20 kids there that had completely white shirts on and had seen the show 4 or 5 times already, that were there to get their shirts stained with fake blood so they could save those shirts and remember that theater experience. I thought it was really cool that they already had like this following, especially because it was teenagers, and all I want for everyone is to go see theater rather than do anything else, you know. It was a really awesome experience. I mean, I think the music in some parts was kind of lacking. There was a lot to work on. With some of the songs were kind of boring, but in general, the experience of the show was fun and absurd and interactive and hilarious, and at the same time kind of moving and lovable and sad. You know, I hope that musical goes somewhere. It's closed right now. It extended twice. It extended 3 months past its original closing date. And so if you ever get a chance and a regional production or a community production of The Reanimator opens in your area, I would 100% suggest go seeing it, because I think that show's going to do some really cool things and go some cool places. I think we need more shows out there that break the fourth wall like that, because I think our society nowadays is so used to watching TV and movies that the difference theater gives us is that it's real people, and sometimes when there's such a strict fourth wall, we don't get to even feel the difference. We don't get to appreciate that the people on stage are real people giving us their emotions in that moment. So that was a great show. We never saw Les Mis. We tried.
I went to Spain. I saw Les Mis in Spanish in Spain while I was there. It was a last-minute trip, and Les Mis was there, and I was like, you know what? This is showing in Amundsen, and I'm gonna try and see it, and I did, and that was okay.
It was okay. We tried to see it multiple times at Amundsen with our friends, and every single time we got there, they were sold out with hot tickets. And they were like, well, we have single seats for like $130, and we were like, we're not paying $130 to see Les Mis, I'm sorry. So we just
But you know what? I did have friends who did see it, and they said it wasn't, you know, I mean, it's good. Les Mis is Les Mis. It's a good show, but it's like, I'm gonna get yelled at so much. It's overrated. I said it. It's overrated. It's done.
You know, I always appreciate seeing a show again, which we'll get into later, because I like seeing different productions and different interpretations, but there's some shows we just don't need to see again.
Okay, so that is all for our LA shows. Let's go do part 2 of the Broadway. Okay.